You may have heard of the 5 love languages: words of affirmation, physical touch, receiving and giving gifts, quality time, and acts of service. I would like to argue that there is a 6th love language, and that is the art of cooking. Cooking can be used to honor our cultures, our past, and to create a new future of cuisine that represents ourselves and our families, as well as being used as a way to show our friends that we care about them and want to make sure that they're doing well. I would say that I first learned about the love language of cooking through my parents, and I have learned from them how to pay it forward to my friends, family, partners, and even strangers. I am a firm believer in the saying that the fastest way to one's heart is through their stomach, and the best way to reach that is through a love-filled homemade meal. As my parents were the first ones to really show me about this love language, it's only fair that I talk about some of the recipes they've shared with me. First, I have to give a lot of the credit to my mom, who is born and raised from Beijing and immigrated here when she was only 22, and she didn't have a lot to her name. But something that she passed on to her family, as like her husband, me, and my sister, is the same recipes and things that her parents cooked for her at home. There's a lot of traditional and non-traditional Chinese cuisines that she shared with us, as her parents didn't exactly have everything either. A lot of the recipes are not something that you would typically find in a restaurant, which is why I always feel a bit spoiled when I come home to have her cooking, and that whenever I go to a Chinese place, it just never tastes right to me. And my mom is the type of mom that if I were to ask her the recipe for one of her meals that I would want to recreate, the answer that I'd most likely get is, you measure it with your heart, or I don't really know, I kind of just feel it out. And I will never get specific measurements. But over the years of learning how to measure with my heart, I've learned how to replicate some of her recipes and even add my own touch to them, which is exactly what she's always wanted to teach us, is to understand the bare fundamentals of the recipes that her dad taught her and to pass them down to me and my sister for us to finesse and add our own touch to. And for my dad, he was the one who really got me into baking, because his mom, my grandma, grew up in Wisconsin, and she was your very classic American Midwestern grandma, and she'd make pies and applesauce and lasagna, and all of that kind of stuff. But one of the things that she made were sugar cookies, and we were lucky enough to get that recipe and make it for Easter and Christmas recently. And being able to bond with my dad that way and to feel that my late grandmother was still with me through her baking is a feeling that I could truly never get anywhere else. I remember the first time that I made something for a group of my friends, and that was when I got really into baking cupcakes and macarons in middle school. I was obsessed with those really intricate baking books with all of the fondant decorations and different buttercreams and icings that you could make. And I specifically remember being so proud of 2 recipes in particular. One of them being a cookies and cream cupcake, and the other one being a peppermint bark cupcake, both of which were my favorite flavors at the time. I shared them with my friends and classmates in my free period because I had another friend who is still one of my best friends to this day who would bake these fantastic Oreo cheesecake bites and sell them for her club. So she kind of inspired me to continue this act of showing affection and friendship through food. Later, when I was in my freshman year of college, I had decided to go home and bake an ungodly amount of deluxe brownies. Like, they were the ones that had 3 layers in them, so basic cookie dough with some Oreos in the middle and brownie batter on top. Just absolutely loaded brownies. And I severely underestimated how many I would make. I ended up making about 70. So I had decided to just take them and offer them to whoever wanted to have them in my dorm building. And surprisingly, they were a hit. A lot of people came back for seconds and thirds and even gave me requests of things that they wanted to make later. And it was really fun. Now that I have transferred a few times, I don't really have that same opportunity to kind of just put my food out in the dorm hallway, especially considering I live in an apartment now. But now I have the luxury of fulfilling my dream of inviting my friends and partner over to my apartment, and I get to whip up some delicious drinks and foods for them, and I get to watch them enjoy it. And to me, there's nothing more fulfilling than making something from scratch and being able to see my friends with an empty plate or go home with a container of leftovers. Like, there's nothing that quite warms my heart in that same way. On a personal level, cooking has also helped me branch out with my own flavor palette, because I am personally sensitive to some foods and have difficulties trying new things out of fear that I may have a reaction or not necessarily enjoy what I eat. But a lot of the friends and family that I keep in my close circle are notoriously not picky eaters, and I end up being the one with the most restrictions. But seeing the joy that they get from experimenting with new things and just saying why not when they see something interesting on the menu has made me want to experiment more and be more courageous with not only my recipes but also what I decide to order when I go out. It hasn't been the easiest, and there have been a few times where I have unfortunately had to swap my plate with my friends, but they always encourage me and are proud of me for trying something new, as I think that everyone should try something new every once in a while, because that's what makes your comfort meals more comforting. It's what makes those home-cooked recipes, well, that much more special to you, because it's something to look forward to, and it solidifies the idea that it is a unique flavor and experience that you can genuinely not get anywhere else. No amount of money can make up for what you get from a home-cooked meal, and I am a firm believer in that. I'm really excited to see what I will make in the future and the successes and failures that come with it. And I hope that even if you are good at cooking, or you're not good at cooking, or you just like to eat food or experiment with stuff, that this podcast has at least made you reflect on the meals that you've shared with your loved ones, and that you think about how in those silent moments where people are laughing and you hear silverware clinking and people just eating their food, and you remember that feeling and just think to yourself, this is really nice. Thank you for listening.